pjnet.tv. It is 9 o'clock Eastern Coast in the United States. You see the bumper running. And you can't see, but we are recording. You can see, if you're watching this on social media, it's because we're streaming all over the place. And the chat room's waiting. Stephanie's waiting. I see no reason to tarry and wait any longer. We will start a countdown to Studio 21. Hi, good evening. Welcome to pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and I am excited to be here. I get to do this Monday through Thursday, and I can't think of more fun. Well, I might could, but anyway, what makes tonight so special is it is the first Wednesday of the month. Okay, if you look at the calendar, and that is a time that we reserve at 9 p.m. for Stephanie Pavlantos and Pavlantos. Stephanie, you all know her, okay? if you don't, Stephanie is coming to what part of the country are you in?
Northeast Ohio.
Ohio. Well, you're a long ways from here. Okay.
Yes.
The internet.
But it was a beautiful Florida day today, let me tell you.
Were you the one that posted the snow here about a week ago?
Uh-huh.
That
Snow.
is so disturbing.
It was, but today it was almost 80, so that's
let me
Ohio.
clear something up. Some people were commenting last night that my face was red. Well, folks, I'm in Florida. I am Scandinavian. Mm-hmm. I have been watering the grass outside. Connect the dots, folks. 10 minutes later, I'm looking like a lobster. I won't take my shirt off to show you how bad it is underneath here, but it's bad. It's awful. But Stephanie, you and I have something in common.
Yes.
And it's not that I speak Hebrew.
Right.
But I tell you what, I have a German Shepherd. Now mine is white, but German Shepherds I've never had one. This is my first German Shepherd. Oh. I love large dogs because when I was younger, my parents would not allow me to have a large dog. I had a little Pekingese mix kind of thing, you know.
Yes.
And they're okay and everything, but I'm a guy. I'm a boy. And any dog that is not large enough to use as a pillow is unsuitable. Right.
No lap dogs.
So you how many German Shepherds do you have?
We have two.
Two. And where do they sleep at night? They
actually have a kennel outside that they sleep right next to the house. But that's because we have sheep and we have ducks and we have goats and chickens. But
you're out your mind. What?
Yeah, but they stay outside and they watch over everybody. They let us know.
The chickens stay outside. I am so...
No.
The dogs stay outside.
The dog.
Okay.
One night we had a fox. It was right on the other side of our fence. Like we have a fence within a fence. So we have a fence that goes all the way around our property. Then we have our house or our property, which is about a little over 4 acres. But then it's divided in half with the inner fence.
Kind of a Sally gate system. So you can...
Yeah. So we can keep the animals in the back and the people in the front. And so anyway, they stay in the back with the animals. Well, the fox was in the middle between the two fences. And and this was at 3 o'clock in the morning and the dogs were just going crazy. And Mike and I both jumped out of bed and there it was just sitting there taunting them. But yeah, they let us know when stuff like that is around.
Well, that is the idea, right? To wake you up.
Right.
Intruder. Yeah. Okay.
Intruder alert.
Among your German Shepherds, I've been kind of following the story of Mia. And this has gotten to be a rather protracted story to the point you blogged about it. By the way, folks, you can find her blog at this address. I won't try to pronounce it because I can do the Stephanie, I can do the .com. You help me out.
Pavlantos.
So it's not Pavlantos. It's everything's kind of soft.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not Greek. You married one.
I married one.
Mm-hmm,
and he doesn't
Irish,
even
right?
pronounce the he doesn't even pronounce the T. He actually kind of says it like Pavlanos. That's how he says it. Pavlanos.
Yeah, well they just speak fast.
Yeah.
kind of, that's that Italian, great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you folks, you can go to Stephanie Pavlanta,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
that address on the screen.
No,
Right,
I messed you up.
right there, folks. That's where you go, right there. Spell it right, or you won't get there.
Right.
And your recent blog, now this is more than about the dog, but tell us about the dog, and then tell the rest of the story.
Um, a little over a year ago, Mia actually jumped one of our fences. It was the inside fence, so to speak. So she didn't get out of the yard, but she wanted into the front yard where she could get to us. And so she made this a daily habit. And one of these times, she scraped her leg and had a little bit of a nasty cut on it. But we kind of, it wasn't anything you needed to go to the vet about, so we just took care of it here. But then we would find her licking it and licking it and licking it. We'd try to just, get her away from it. But over time, since she's outside a lot, she did what she wanted to it. And unfortunately, we would look at it every night or so. And it's like, well, it's starting to get bigger instead of smaller. And so finally, we took her to the vet. Well, we took her to the vet to get her shots and stuff. And I asked the vet about it. And he said, well, yeah, it might go down on its own, but let me know if it doesn't. So a little while later, we kept watching it again, and it was just really getting big. So we ended up taking her back to the vet, and they go, oh, well, we don't do surgery, so we have to refer you. So then it went through the whole thing of trying to find a surgeon, and found one, and they removed it. But they warned us that where it was on her foot, that there wasn't going to be a lot of skin left, and that they would have a hard time suturing it and closing it. So it would probably be an open wound. Well, never in our minds, in our way of thinking, did we really know what he meant by all that. And it was ugly. It was a nasty open wound, but they kept it bandaged. And but that didn't last long. Unfortunately, the bandages kind of just ended up having to come off for good. And because we had a little midnight escapade with a cat. And one night I took her out to go potty, and every night she would kind of like hop and then sit down, hop and sit down, because she was in pain and she didn't want to walk on it too much. So, but suddenly I had let Sophie out too. So suddenly Sophie actually had a head start. So Sophie, I just saw this brown little mass running at me at breakneck speed. I didn't even know what it was. It was just running at me. But I saw Sophie behind it, and it went boom right past me. And before I knew it, there went Sophie and Mia, boom, and they just took off. And it's 11:30 at night, and they're gone. They're down the driveway. They're everywhere. And I am panicked because this dog had surgery 3 days before this, and I wasn't supposed to, let her go without a leash, and I did. So
well, and there's a message here, and well, let me tell the rest of the story. We'll unwrap it later.
Okay, so when I brought her in, explained to my husband what happened. I'm out of breath because I'm running down the driveway trying to find her in the dark, and get her in. And of course, she's just like breathing hard, but other than that, she's not really favoring the leg any more than she had been, and all of that. So I get her settled, but 2 days later, I take her to the vet. It was already a scheduled appointment. So he removes all of her bandages to change them, and he goes, well, this isn't looking very good. And I go, oh no, it isn't. And of course, we're doing all this by phone because you can't go into the vet.
Right. Stephanie, let me interrupt you just for a moment. Remember that little trick we did to turn your cammor off and back on? Remember that?
Yes, I see. It's like, oh no, my face is distorted.
Like, your face is melting, and let's see. Okay, there's your I thought, boy, you just got a terrible case of acne over in 3 or 4 seconds. And
I
okay,
know.
all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
You
it's
probably
fine.
lost
I'm
track of
glad you
where you're
fixed
at.
my
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
But I wish it were that easy to fix my face on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the vet said, well, we're going to have to, he did a culture, he did a couple cultures to see what was growing. And he said she's definitely got an infection. So he found 3 different kinds of bacteria. He actually removed more tissue just to send it in to have it cultured.
Right.
And so, of course, by the time he took all the bandages off, and now it's just terribly inflamed and even worse looking because he took more tissue. And so we ended up having to really, buckle down, keep her clean. I got a talking to, no more without a leash. so, so we put bags over her foot. And actually, I had a bag over her foot at that time. It was a bag that they had given me, but we lost that in the raid for the cat. And so we got new bags, put them over her foot when we took her out, and a heavy duty leash that she couldn't get away from me. And no matter if there was a cat or not. But she just looked bad. She was miserable. She was in pain. She was in a lot of pain. We had her on pretty high doses of pain medicine, and then of course it was seeping and just all sorts of ugly things. Yeah. So she was on 3 different drugs. So she was on 1 for pain and 2 antibiotics eventually, and then they ate. That was the first cone in that picture. She actually got a bigger one because she wouldn't leave her foot alone.
Wow.
And so that's a headache because she is still having, after a month. We had surgery on March 10th. That's when she had surgery. And so here it is, 3 days. It'll be a month that she's been in the house full time with a cone on her head.
Wow.
And she's all finished. She's all off all of her medicine. So at least that's good. She's not taking any kind of medication, any kind of pain medication. And yesterday was the first day I had her out for about 45 minutes walking around, and she loved it. So,
okay.
And now we put a bandana over her leg, so over that part of her foot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it looked pretty nice. I saw that picture and
Yeah.
didn't harvest it because it wouldn't fit. But anyway, now in your blog, you go in. This the
Right.
purpose of this story is not to tell you about veterinary care. The purpose of the story is there's some parallels and some analogies that through all this, God has shown you some things.
Right. So Mia had this laser treatment, and of course, laser is a light, and this focused light, and it was literally for 49 seconds that they focused this light on this wound that promoted more, basically, cell growth and cell multiplication. So I kind of took this in a way that we're all wounded. For one reason or another, we're wounded, and not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we can be wounded. And I thought that just when I put the description of this K laser and what it does and how it works, and I thought, how cool is that it works with light? And who is our light but Jesus? And when we're wounded, he takes, the light of his power, searching our heart, can mend our hearts and mend our souls and even our emotions and our thoughts. And so I kind of tied it all together with, how we self-medicate even.
Right.
Oftentimes, we're loading up poor Mia on medication, but we will also self-medicate. And we use food, we use medication itself, we use even going from one relationship to another. We use lots of things to medicate our wounds. And when we do that, we're just covering up the problem. We're not getting to the root of it. But the thing I've learned in my own life is about the best way to fix our wounds is through forgiveness. And that was a big thing for me. I had a relationship, or is actually a family member. So it's not someone that you can just get away from.
Right.
And but for 5 years we didn't talk much because of some wounds and some words that were spoken and different things. And but I remember one day the Lord just saying, "Why won't you admit that you're hurt?" Because that was my biggest issue. I wouldn't admit that she hurt me. It was like, I'm not going to let her hurt me.
Right.
I am not going to be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so after 4 5 years, the Lord just said, when are you going to admit that? And right there in that minute, in that very moment, I should say, I just said, you're right, Lord. I am hurt. Everything that happened was hurtful to me. And it was like suddenly in that very, like as soon as it was out of my mouth, he healed me. He healed my emotions. He healed my heart. And the thing about it is that I got on the phone immediately and I said, you know what? I love you and I don't want to be separated from you anymore. You know, separated in this estranged relationship. And she just said, me either. And we talked for about an hour and we just hashed things out. And I explained how I was hurt. She explained how she was hurt. And the Lord healed both of us. And it just all happened within that. Now, of course, it was, 5 years or so, but in that very moment from when the Lord put his finger on that to the time I decided I would forgive her and I would be done with it, then boom, it was done. And that's a cool thing, I think.
At the intellectual level, that's a big jump, and I'm proud of you. I really am. But making that phone call can be kind of hard, can it?
Mm-hmm. It wasn't even hard because without the pain, it was like just calling somebody I know well. I mean, I can't describe it except that when he healed me, he removed the pain. Mm-hmm. And now it was like the memory is here, but what happens to us is the memory and the pain wraps itself all around the memory. So you can't think about it without hurting. But the Lord is able to just bring them apart. And so I can think about what happened without any pain because he healed and he removed them. And I should say he separated them because that's what he does best. But it had to start with my forgiveness and my acknowledgement that I was hurt. And when I was able to do that, then he just took over. And the next step, was I a little tentative? I actually texted her first and said, can we talk? And she said yes. Okay. And then when she said that, I called her.
Yeah.
And so, but it was a God thing. But he can work through our brokenness and through our wounds. It's no matter what we try to do to fix things without his intervention and without forgiveness, it just doesn't come together the same way. He can heal so completely. And, and we've been watching, I've actually taken a few pictures of how Mia's foot looked and this, big red inflamed mess and how it's healing. It's coming in from the sides and healing. And it's the center that's still red, but the healing begins on the outside to the inside. And that's how he kind of deals with us in a sense, because what's going on around us, and he starts bringing our heart and he starts bringing that healing in until our very heart is just totally healed. And to me, that's just, as I was thinking about what she's been through in the last month, it just all kind of played out in my mind and my own experiences and how the Lord heals.
Well, Stephanie, in the closing minute, I'd like to make a comment. All dogs, but German Shepherds in particular, are very, very loyal to their master.
Yes.
And the reason that dog is wounded is it was protecting you with total disregard for its own safety and its own life. And that kind of love, that kind of faithfulness, that kind of agape.
Right.
There's some scriptural parallels to that. God loves us like that
Right.
too.
He
Jesus
does.
went to the cross with disregard for his own. He could have gotten out of that.
Right.
You know how that hymn
And
goes?
he
He could have
didn't.
called 10,000 angels. It
Right.
wasn't the nails that held him to the cross.
Right. Right. Because
He,
he was eternal. So
right.
he gave his life. And, that's, well, just to take off on that, the I've always said that this dog loves me. And my family would like, yeah, Mom, she loves us all. And I'm like, no, I think we just have a special bond. She really just, the way she looks at me, the way she waits for me, and just different things, because she
Turns that head,
stays
yeah.
with me. But they would all argue with me about, no, Mom, you're just imagining. She does that to everybody. Well, since she's been in this house, if I walk out of the house, I have to sneak out a different door, because then when she doesn't hear me, she knows I'm gone, and she cries and she cries and she cries. And so my husband says, okay, she loves you more. I get it. She loves you more. Will you
There you
please
go.
not leave the house?
Yeah.
So
We're good. Okay. Well, you handled that very well, because while you were saying that, our next guest came into the studio, and that is our topic in just a few minutes. Stephanie, I wish we had more
good.
time. Thank you for sharing not only about your dog, but the spiritual lessons that
Thank you.
this has brought and taught
Always a pleasure.
you. And we appreciate you. And we'll see you about this time next month. How's that?
That's right. Thank you.
All right. Well, folks, there you see. We are wrapping up this segment, but don't go anywhere. Hey, you are now high atop the Eagle's Nest, the broadcast facilities here at pjnet.tv, and the fun is nowhere near over, because Michelle Medlock Adams is already standing by, and she will be with us at the bottom of the hour, and I've got to make some changes between now and then. So before I leave, I challenge you to ask yourself these two questions. First, what is the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And second, how long ago was that? Oh boy, I hope none of us will be satisfied with either answer.